Good afternoon. Hamilton police have just announced a major bust of a criminal organization believed to be responsible for large-scale retail thefts across several provinces, including here in the GTA.
Hundreds of charges have been laid against more than 20 people with over $1 million in products seized. Investigators believe the stolen property was being trafficked to a man in Mississauga and then sold. Our Sean Leathong joins us live now from Hamilton with all the details. Sean.
Well, Michelle and Nathan, the project is called Project Somme. To give you an idea of just how large-scale this is, 21 people were arrested facing 175 charges. There are still 2 people who are outstanding that they believe are not in the country. Hamilton police saying this started in February of this year when they were tipped off to an alert that came from Waterloo region of possible retail thefts. And to give you an idea of what these retail thefts just were, they're saying this organization would go into a store, specifically, mostly a Shoppers Drug Mart, stealing small items like lipstick, like razors, possibly some face cream, toothbrushes, things to that effect, and getting out undetected, either putting it in their clothes or putting it in some undetectable bags and moving on. But what they would do was work within a region over an entire day or several days, perhaps a weekend, and hit every Shoppers Drug Mart or other location they could find in the area and take everything back to a single location in the GTA. They say they worked in the Hamilton area, in North York, also way out in Quebec, and there was some elements in British Columbia as well. They say the goods that they've managed to pull in are well in excess of $1 million. Here's a little more from Hamilton Police.
Organized retail theft is not a victimless crime. It extends well beyond the businesses directly targeted. When retailers experience repeated losses of this scale, the effects are felt throughout the community, including through increased prices and reduced product availability. To the businesses, employees affected, we recognize the challenges you have faced, and we want you to know that your concerns have been heard.
So the structure of these crimes, as you mentioned off the top, is they would steal these items and then go to a middleman who was in Mississauga. That person would then sell all these items to a liquidator in Brampton and then would be sold back to the general public. Another interesting fact about this group is they said these people are relatively transient in nature. They'd only been in the country for about a year and a half's time. They would live in the area of Hamilton for a while. He said then they moved to North York for some time, with many of them living under one roof, and they would operate together, most of them close friends or family. We'll have more, of course, coming up at 5 or 6, but for now, I'll throw it back to you. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leathong.
Thank you, Sean. Meanwhile, York Regional Police are warning small businesses to be alert after a series of break-and-enters in Newmarket. Investigators say this man is wanted for 6 separate break-ins targeting cash registers on December 7th. He's described as roughly 5'10", wearing a face mask with a white design and carrying a backpack. Investigators also say he appears to have impaired function on his left hand and walks with a distinct slow gait. Police are reminding business owners not to leave cash on site overnight. Anyone with information is asked to contact York Regional Police.
Emergency crews responded to a fire early this morning in the city's northwest. Toronto Fire says its crews were called to 2701 Eglinton Avenue West near Black Creek Drive just before 5:30. They say a fire was located on the 2nd floor and has since been extinguished, but not before causing significant smoke damage and completely destroying one unit.
Somebody had a electrical bike in their apartment, and I think the battery blew up. Anyway, the 2nd floor is a mess. The smoke is all through the building. A lot of us still can't get into our apartments.
And there are reports that we have retrieved an e-bike from this. It's located outside. That'll be part of the investigation. I just want to point out that most of the residents were alerted by the alarm system in here. Most residents evacuated by the alarm system that worked.
Paramedics say 2 women in their 50s were transported to hospital with minor injuries from smoke inhalation.
3 people were taken to hospital after a crash in Scarborough late last night. Now, this was the scene at Victoria Park in Lawrence just after 11:30. Police say 2 vehicles collided and then one crashed into a hydro pole. 3 people in one of the vehicles were taken to hospital with minor injuries. A man in his 20s was charged with making an unsafe turn. And another crash in Scarborough also sent 3 people to hospital last night. This one happened near Kennedy and Lawrence around 7:30. Paramedics say one person was taken to hospital with serious injuries and 2 with minor injuries. Police are still investigating what led to this crash.
We are following some developing news out of the University Avenue courts today. Prosecutors have withdrawn a second-degree murder charge against Timothy Reese. He was found guilty in 1990 in the killing of a 10-year-old girl and sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole for 15 years. He was granted day parole in 2009 and later full parole. But the Court of Appeal for Ontario last month ordered a new trial, citing a miscarriage of justice in Reese's original trial. The Crown said today, in light of that ruling and the passage of time, it was no longer in the public interest to try the case.
Ontario's premier is in Ottawa today to attend a First Minister's meeting. But before that gets underway, Doug Ford signed a deal with the federal government to cooperate on environment and impact assessments.
This agreement will speed up project approval timelines by introducing a new one project, one review approach. And under the agreement, Canada and Ontario will have a streamlined and flexible assessment process that will make approvals more efficient, delivering major projects faster while maintaining both federal and provincial standards. By working together, we will work with the same information, we will have the same timelines, and we will respect each other's jurisdictions.
Nowhere will the impact of this deal will be felt more immediately than in the development of the Ring of Fire. Our agreement is the next step in our government's extensive work and partnerships with First Nations and Northern communities to unlock Ontario's vast critical mineral reserve in the Ring of Fire, which will add $22 billion to our economy and create 70,000 new good-paying jobs.
Premier Ford says today's agreement is the last step in the plan to begin construction at the Ring of Fire this June. The deal also includes an agreement between both levels of government that a review of the assessment of the roads to the Ring of Fire will be completed no later than June 2026.
And still ahead on CTV News this hour, the Prime Minister will meet virtually with the country's premiers this afternoon, the first meeting since signing a controversial MOU with the province of Alberta. We will have more on that meeting a little later in the newscast. But first, new Liberal MP Michael Ma is defending his decision to leave the Conservative Party and cross the floor to the government benches, a move that has angered some of his constituents in the riding of Markham-Unionville.
It's about how we best serve the constituents in Markham-Unionville. Instead of deepening division of the country, I believe that we are better served when we are with the governing party to be able to help voice our decisions and support the constituents in a much better fashion and helping us to achieve the goal. My principles have not changed.
Ma's decision to cross the floor puts the Liberals one seat away from a majority government.
A bid to have the TTC issue refunds for trip delays of 15 minutes failed to win enough support at City Council. Councillor Brad Bradford brought the refund motion forward, arguing it would help restore trust and accountability in the transit system. Now, instead, Council voted to request the TTC board to evaluate and consider the feasibility of implementing a money-back guarantee to riders. Meanwhile, Council's approved raising the land transfer tax rate on luxury homes. The tax rate on homes selling for $3 million or more will rise by about 1%. It's anticipated the increase would bring in a total of $152 million in revenue for the city next year.
There's been another round of job cuts at Conestoga College in Ontario, impacting campuses in Cambridge, Waterloo, Brantford, and Guelph.
About 180 positions were affected. The union is calling the timing right before Christmas devastating. CTV's Heather Centerin has more.
181 full-time faculty members at Conestoga College were issued layoff notices on Tuesday. The president of their union says they don't deserve it.
They're colleagues. They're professionals. They're dedicated, committed individuals.
Koff says it stings even more that his colleagues got this news just days before Christmas.
Shame. This is the timing, everything. And the method and approach, and there's no opportunity for the members to have a town hall directly with management, senior management, to explain or talk.
He believes financial pressures are to blame.
Because it's simple, it's cheap. They're replacing full-time with a lot of part-time. And it's a simple solution, but it's not the right one.
When asked about the layoffs, Conestoga College said Ontario's college sector is facing unprecedented financial challenges, with international enrollment dropping nearly 80% this year compared to 2023, saying in a statement in part, "To achieve a balanced budget, we must align our resources with the reality that we have lost thousands of international students. Simply put, we no longer require the same complement of faculty, staff, and administrators as in 2024. The college says the changes comply with the collective agreement. The union says its top priority is supporting those impacted.
Remember that you're not alone. We're all in it together.
The college calls the decisions difficult but necessary, saying they have to align their resources to ensure long-term sustainability. The layoffs will be effective March 16th. Heather Centerin, CTV News, Kitchener.
Meanwhile, Fanshawe College is offering all full-time employees voluntary exit incentives amid plunging enrollment numbers. The news was delivered to staff in an email from the college's president. School officials have previously reported a $72 million deficit over the next 2 years. The federal government's cap on international students has drastically impacted enrollment numbers for many post-secondary institutions across the country, as much as a 50% decline at Fanshawe. Earlier this year, the school slashed 40 programs and eliminated 35% of its workforce, about 400 jobs. A dispute over where tens of millions of dollars of consumer recycling fees should go is one of the reasons Ontario's tire recycling program appears to be spinning out of control.
As CTV's John Woodward reports, when it comes to the recycling regulations, there are calls to reinvent the wheel.
The crew from All-Star Transportation and Tire Recycling is collecting scrap tires from a car dealership in Etobicoke.
We're just here trying to get the last load of the year.
But owner Scott Kavanaugh says he's not filling his truck up much these days.
We're not getting appointments to do much more, so can't afford to keep the truck on the road if we're not emptying the trucks and filling them.
Tires piling up around Ontario because something's gone wrong with the province's tire recycling system.
Tires are piling up on the streets. That's what's happening.
Many of these tires have nowhere to go, in part because one of the bigger processors, E360, closed its Barrie plant and laid off about 110 people, said CEO Danny Ardolini.
2024, we're roughly owed around, I call it $35 million. We continued on for a full year without getting paid. But then we just couldn't do it anymore, so we had to stop.
What's at stake here are the fees that consumers pay to recycle tires, fees that add up to tens of millions of dollars a year.
Consumers pay around $5 a tire to the tire producers who are supposed to use the money to pay to recycle them. But Ardolini says that's not happening. He says the problem has only gotten bigger since tire producers paid a $7.44 million settlement for falling short of targets in 2023.
Just enforce the regulation. It's as simple as that.
Ontario's recycling regulator told CTV News it's not involved in commercial disputes, but has reminded tire producers they are required to continue collecting and recycling or retreading tires from the collection system, whether targets are met or not. Those targets were reduced this year, another factor behind the piles of tires, Kavanaugh says, worried about a worst-case scenario.
They catch on fire, they do a lot of damage to the environment. They're not easy to put out.
Kavanaugh is launching a petition to reform regulation of the tire recycling industry and hoping something changes because he says it's just going to get worse next year. John Woodward, CTV News.
And we have more news in a moment, but first a look at the forecast. Here's a live look at the city. There is the Christmas tree at City Hall there. And that's a reminder, today might be the best day of the week to run some errands or maybe finish off your Christmas shopping if you haven't done so already. The weather is cooperating. Lindsay Morrison is here with a look at the current conditions. Pretty mild out there.
Very mild, Nathan. Already we have some communities in southern Ontario in the double digits. Check out Niagara Falls, 11 degrees at this hour. We are at 6, which is a significant difference, but my goodness, it feels nice and mild out there, very comfortable right now. Here's a look at what we're dealing with when it comes to the winds. Those winds are coming out of the south, hence the warmer air, and the winds are a little gusty, especially in areas outside of the GTA. Here's your afternoon at a glance. Forecast daytime high, 9 degrees. Not only is that well above seasonal, but it could be record-breaking for today. But a change is coming. Enjoy the sun while we have it. Some wet weather is on the way, and this could give us a decent soaking through the overnight hours tonight before a flip back to flurries. We'll take you through the forecast into the weekend coming up. For now, Michelle, I'll send it over to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. As food banks face increased pressure to meet unprecedented need, a new report finds almost a third of Ontarians have no plans to donate this year. Research from Next Door Canada and Angus Reid also shows 20% of Canadians say they are currently struggling to afford groceries, while 39% report knowing someone struggling. Nearly 2.2 million Canadians are expected to rely on food banks this month. We spoke to Daily Bread CEO Neil Hetherington about the need he's calling on all levels of government to do more to support housing and food insecurity.
It's absolutely understandable, and that's why demand at the food bank has risen as much as it has. We are seeing now across the country about 1 in 4 Canadians who are food insecure. About 25% of the population of Canada is food insecure, and we're seeing that on the ground at food banks all across the country. And it's understandable that when you are feeding 1 in 10 Torontonians, as the Daily Bread is, that the folks might not be able to donate either food or funds.
Hetherington says those who can't afford to donate money can volunteer their time to support Daily Bread. Toronto police have joined forces with the Jamaican Canadian Association to support relief efforts following Hurricane Melissa.
The police service held a Cram a Cruiser event with donations going to support those impacted by the storm. CTV's Allison Hurst has the story.
Thank you so much. You're so strong. Bag after bag of non-perishable food items are loaded into a police cruiser and ambulance.
To be honest, I wasn't expecting this much food, but we got a whole load of food from our school. Our school has done a really good job with this.
Don Mills Middle School held a food drive, collecting items for those in Jamaica struggling in the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa. That storm barreled down on the island nation on October 28th as a Category 5. The death toll has continued to rise with at least 45 confirmed dead, 30,000 households displaced, and 1,100 people still living in emergency shelters.
In Canada, we have food, we have water, we have a safe home underneath us, but there are people in other countries that don't have that.
The school's leadership group had just a week or two to gather this much food together.
We went to door to door asking people, please, do you guys have any food? We were like rushing to find more food, and we thought we would never feel like this much. Like, I'm being really honest, it was like so much anxiety, and actually I am very proud of our whole school.
Their principal estimates they managed to collect anywhere from 500 to 750 items.
The students, they just took off with it.
Jim Clark says the school also called some of their community partners and vendors to ask them to donate.
It just came at the right time that we could focus our energy and efforts to supporting this initiative.
It was done in partnership with the Toronto Police Black International Support Network, the Jamaican Canadian Association, the Toronto Fire Services Black Staff Network, and the Toronto Paramedic Services Black Staff Network.
We have over 400 members within the service that's been impacted, and they expressed a heartfelt desire to help and support Hurricane Melissa relief.
What started as an internal divisional drive grew.
We're doing this at 2 other schools within 41 Division and 55 Division.
The vehicles filled to the brim with food will be driven directly to the Jamaican Canadian Association to be shipped. Allison Hurst, CTV News.
Prime Minister Mark Carney will host a virtual First Minister's meeting today. It's the first meeting since he signed a contentious energy agreement with Alberta. Let's bring in CTV's Jeremy Sharon in Ottawa with the very latest on this. Jeremy, what will be at the top of the agenda today?
Nathan, look, I think a top priority today for the Prime Minister in meeting with the premiers from across provinces will be to talk about international trade, specifically negotiations with the U.S. or lack thereof. Of course, talks between Canada and the U.S. have not been happening since Ontario Premier Doug Ford launched that anti-tariff ad in October featuring Ronald Reagan. President Trump didn't like the ad. He called off negotiations as a result. This is actually the first time the Prime Minister and Premier Doug Ford faced questions from the media together since that ad was launched. And both the Prime Minister and the Premier took questions about that today. And the Premier defended the ad, talked about all of the views that it got, called it a very successful ad, while visibly the Prime Minister behind him made facial expressions that led to believe he did not agree with the success of the ad. The Prime Minister was quite clear that he believes the talks were going very well with the U.S., that they were perhaps getting close to a deal on sectoral tariffs prior to the ad being launched. So that was the focus of conversations at the press conference this morning, and I expect that will be the focus of a lot of talk today between the Prime Minister and the Premiers, not just about the ad, but the state of conversations between Canada and the U.S., and whether or not it is possible to have talks resume again prior to the renegotiation of CUSMA, the Canada-U.S.-Mexico agreement that is up for renegotiation next year. We've heard from the U.S. administration now some of the things they believe it's going to take to get a new deal across the table, and that includes perhaps changes to the dairy industry and the way Canada protects its dairy industry through supply management. The U.S. administration doesn't like that, so I think that there's going to be a lot of talk today about what it's going to take for Canada to get back to the table in talks with the U.S., and perhaps what the renegotiation of CUSMA could look like, Nathan.
And what about this memorandum of understanding, this MOU with Alberta? How much talk will that get?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to imagine the meeting goes on today without any talk of the MOU. It has certainly been a topic of conversation here in Ottawa, in Alberta, in BC, and really across the country. Provinces and premiers have been reacting to this deal signed between Alberta and Ottawa. It'll be the first time the Premier of BC, David Eby, and Alberta Premier Danielle Smith are in a meeting together. And so presumably there'll be some talks about it. BC Premier has been clear. He opposes the MOU. He's frustrated. He wasn't part of conversations between Ottawa and Alberta. He says he's looking to meet early in the new year with the Prime Minister and the Premier to talk further about this. But certainly I think it'll be hard to get through a day of conversation or a meeting with all of the premiers without talking about, one of the biggest announcements in the last few weeks, that memorandum of understanding between Alberta and Ottawa, and a deal that potentially could impact, BC and the economy of the country widespread. So surely there will be some talk about that MOU and the contentious part of it, which is that BC and Alberta are not nearly on the same page about it.
A lot of big issues on the table. CTV's Jeremy Chiron in Ottawa. Thank you.
Anytime.
Meanwhile, the U.S. has given Canada an indication of major policy changes it needs to make before renegotiating the current North American Free Trade Agreement. In a statement to Congress, the Trump administration's top trade representative says Ottawa must address concerns over market access for U.S. dairy products and Canada's exports of its dairy products. Other areas of concern include provincial bans on American alcohol products and Canada's online streaming and online news acts.
As expected, the leader of Quebec's Liberal Party announced his resignation today.
I took this decision solely out of a sense of duty for my party, which I sincerely love, for Quebec, and for my country.
Pablo Rodriguez told reporters in Montreal he'd become a distraction as the Liberals try to prepare for next year's election. He's stepping down amid allegations of wrongdoing, including vote buying during the leadership race he won in June. Rodriguez maintains he's done nothing wrong, and anyone who has will face consequences.
New figures show Canada's population declined for the first time in history this year, excluding the COVID-19 pandemic period.
Here's CTV's Heather Wright with a look at what's behind the drop and the expected impact on the country's economy.
The federal government promised to, quote, get immigration under control, and preliminary numbers from Statistics Canada suggest efforts to curb the number of immigrants are working. Between July 1st and October 1st of this year, Canada's population decreased by about 76,000 people, mainly due to a reduction in the number of non-permanent residents. Stats Canada attributes the decrease to record high outflows, with about 74,000 people with a study permit leaving the country.
We needed to bring our immigration level to a more sustainable level. And at the same time, we've doubled down in budget 2025 to attract the best and brightest in our country.
This decrease follows record rates of population growth between 2022 and 2023, an immigration policy aimed at part in helping companies fill thousands of empty jobs following the COVID-19 pandemic. But the increase also exacerbated existing challenges with housing and health care.
One of the things that it doesn't seem to be any huge consensus on is what our perfect immigration levels should be. Michael Hahn is a professor and demographer at Western University and says a shrinking population can have positive impacts, such as driving down housing prices. But he warns there can be negative impacts too, especially when the changes happen so quickly. You know, wide open, wide shut. Those are the ones that hurt the most. Those are the ones that, universities, colleges, builders, they're not prepared for these abrupt changes because population change, I think optimal population change happens slowly rather than quickly.
More changes to immigration levels are coming, with the federal Liberals vowing to further reduce the number of temporary residents over the next 2 years. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
So it's a mild day out there, but we do have some wet weather on the way. It's not likely to arrive until later on this evening. Here's what you can expect. We're going to reach our daytime high a little later in the afternoon today. So around 4 p.m., 9 degrees, and then around 10 p.m., we're getting into some rain, and we could pick up 5 to even 15 millimeters of it. That's going to melt some of the snow out there. Speaking of snow, we change back to snow for tomorrow, and yeah, we could pick up maybe a trace to 2 centimeters here in Toronto. There will be a heavier accumulation for areas north of here. Let's talk about your weekend forecast after the break. You're watching CTV News at noon, and we'll be right back.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
Well, it straight up feels like an all-new season. It feels so mild out there. It's really, really nice. Even though, you get a bit of melting of that snow, I'll put up with it.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I know people want the white Christmas, but if you're driving and visiting family, it's kind of nice when the roads are, dry and clear.
Yeah, this is an improvement in the minds of a lot of people. It's funny how today feels like spring when we technically haven't even been through winter, but it feels like we have. So this reprieve is nice, I think, because it was starting to feel like it was going to be a very long winter around here. So break in the temperature, the extreme cold away for now, but we do have some active weather on the way starting tonight. So enjoy the sunshine, the mix of sun and cloud while we have it. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers you don't pay unless they win. Speaking of sun and cloud, check out the sunrise this morning. And of course, these that we're entering now are some of the shortest days of the year. Winter solstice is this Sunday, and of course the days are going to progressively get a little bit longer after that. Winter arriving at 10:03 a.m. Look at that sky. Looks like a painting, and you can see our beautiful city skyline off in the distance. Nice way to start the day, and this is a nice way to enjoy the afternoon. Temperature right now is 6 degrees. We have our wind chill marked on here, but there isn't much of one. We have southerly winds for today. Look at the difference, though. Southern Ontario compared to the north and portions of Manitoba. Wow, dramatic difference. We do have more cold air that's going to return to southern Ontario, but ahead of that, we enjoy an afternoon high today of potentially 9 degrees. And I was curious, what is the record high for today? It's 8.3. That record set back in the year 1957. So we could break that pretty easily today. We'll see how we do through the rest of the afternoon. St. Catharines, you're the hot spot right now at 11.4 degrees. 5 is where we expect the temperature to be through the overnight hours tonight. But slowly but surely, that temperature will continue to fall into tomorrow. So by tomorrow morning, -1 degree. Tomorrow afternoon, -4. Certainly cold enough for us to see any precip change from rain back over to some snow. And speaking of rain, it's already impacting parts of the province, including the Bruce Peninsula, areas to the east of Georgian Bay. This is all associated with a big weather maker bringing all kinds of snow to the north. It's mainly going to be a rainmaker for us, but as mentioned, changeover to some snow is going to happen into the day on Friday. That's after we pick up roughly 10 to 15 millimeters of rain. The timing of it, a few showers as we make our way into the late afternoon and early part of the evening. Bulk of the precip, though, is going to be mid to late evening, and then overnight, early tomorrow morning, there's that changing as the temperature just slips below freezing, and then we're going to have some pretty strong westerly winds for tomorrow. That signals some lake effect snow once again. Improvements as we head into the weekend. Still the chance of a few flurries for both Saturday and Sunday. 2 degrees on Saturday, not bad. -2 on Sunday. And by Tuesday of next week, we are back up around 5 for a high, with a little bit of mixing possible then as well. That's the weather for now. Michelle, sending it over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. We're following developing news this hour. A man in his 30s is fighting for his life after an industrial accident in the west end of the city. Our CTV News chopper broadcasting live right now over the scene. This is at Eglinton and Jane. Police say this happened at a construction site around 10 this morning. Paramedics transported a patient to a local trauma center with serious life-threatening injuries. The Ministry of Labor has been notified, but in terms of what exactly happened, we don't have those details at this hour. We're looking to get them, but we will continue to follow this situation as the investigation gets underway.
Well, the countdown to Christmas is on, and you may still have some names you need to cross off your list.
The latest smart devices and trendy gadgets can be a great gift, but you will want to check to see if they have any additional ongoing costs. CTV's Pat Foran explains.
Flashy tech gadgets are everywhere.
It's the holiday season. We're going to see a lot of things that we love.
Before picking out a tech gift, lifestyle and tech influencer Jennifer Hernandez reads the small print and checks for subscriptions.
They will give you access to some things, but then the better things, you have to pay for it.
She's right. Many popular tech gifts offer basic features for free, but they may keep their most useful tools behind paywalls.
That's why it's worth considering. Are you giving them a cool gift that's going to cost them in the long run? And are you willing to cover those subscription fees? And if so, for how long?
Take fitness trackers. They give you health data at no cost, but some features that you might expect to be included, like deeper metrics or premium workout videos, usually require a subscription. When it comes to doorbell cameras, live view and basic alerts might be free, but features like cloud storage, person detection, or package alerts can come with an extra cost. But there are also plenty of models that now include those extras without a paid plan, so it's best to compare.
Some video doorbells store recordings locally, so you don't need to pay for a subscription to access your clips. That helps keep ongoing costs down, and not everyone needs the premium features that come with those monthly fees.
Bundles are worth a look if a tech device needs extra accessories. Buying them together might be cheaper than paying for each piece later.
Check whether the gift works with the devices they already have. Some work best with certain phones or home systems, which can save them frustration and extra costs later.
For Jennifer, thinking about those details is important.
You don't want to give someone something they're going to return it.
A little research can go a long way to make sure whoever gets your gift doesn't end up with an extra bill to pay once the holidays are over. Pat Foran, CTV News.
Holiday grocery shopping, meantime, is in full swing as families plan to make their annual culinary traditions.
But it may be more expensive this year to make some of the classic favorites. CTV's Maria Saru has a look at the prices of some staple holiday foods.
Grocery stores are getting busy with the holiday season soon in full swing, and some shoppers say they're watching where their dollars go.
I try and buy everything on sale. Very expensive this year.
The prices have really went up.
CTV News compared the cost of a cart full of holiday staples this year versus last, using old online flyers and in-store prices. Experts say the price of turkey has stayed relatively stable, but this 6.2 kilogram grade A butterball is over $4 more expensive. This bagged salad is up about $2, and each can of cream of chicken soup costs a little under $1 more. Now, some relief. Frozen baby blend was on sale, 2 for $5. And several items were the same price as last year. A 15-pound bag of russet potatoes, 2 packets of gravy, and a box of shortbread cookies. Now, let's say your family likes a traditional beef roast. Here's a more affordable cut, about 2 kilograms of sirloin tip. Last year, it would have cost nearly $26. This year, closer to $66. That brings our total to nearly $135 compared to $90 in 2024.
The beef prices we're experiencing now are kind of a hangover from dry weather in 21, 22, and 23.
Food economist Mike von Massow says drought across parts of North America drove the price of feed up. And with cattle prices not keeping pace, some farmers shrank their herds. It'll take time to rebuild supply. He adds families are making compromises.
People are buying fewer gifts or cheaper gifts, and then some people are saying we're going to have smaller holiday gatherings.
Back here at the grocery store, shopping the sales and swapping out the protein could help keep costs down. Maria Saru, CTV News, Charlottetown.
As we look ahead to the new year, a number of new laws and rules are set to take effect, including one here in Ontario around pay transparency. Starting January 1st, employers with more than 25 people on their payroll must post compensation ranges in all their publicly advertised job postings. They'll also be required to disclose the use of artificial intelligence in the hiring process. BC, PEI, and parts of the U.S. have similar laws in place. Critics have questioned how effective they've been, as they often feature very wide ranges for potential salaries. Ontario's rules say the range can't have a gap bigger than $50,000 unless the pay range exceeds $200,000. Employment agency Robert Half Canada says the transparency rules will help equalize the playing field for applicants, existing employees, and employers.
Just ahead on CTV News at noon, a trio of siblings pay a visit to the staff who cared for them during their infancy at a Scarborough hospital. We'll have that lovely holiday reunion after the break.
Flu cases continue to rise across the country, and experts say the peak is still a ways off.
CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver has more on what doctors are expecting in the months ahead.
The flu hits every year, but the strain of influenza A circulating now is hitting harder and faster than ever.
Well, it causes a severe pneumonia that can cause the lungs to break down. There can be a secondary bacterial infection. There can be widespread infection known as sepsis.
Doctors say severe complications are rare, but nationally, flu-related hospitalizations are increasing, especially in kids 4 or younger and among those over 65. In Ontario alone, new ICU admissions are up 127%, with confirmed flu cases up by 150%. In Nova Scotia, like elsewhere, doctors are preparing for a surge in cases, especially among kids around the holidays.
We tend to underappreciate the need for vaccination, and I certainly know in Nova Scotia, our uptake of vaccine in infants and young children is far from where ideally we'd like to have it.
Whatever protection you can get, it does make a difference.
Jill Promoli knows firsthand how devastating the flu can be. Her son Jude was a healthy 2-year-old when he got influenza B and died.
Even when we lost Jude, it was a shock to us that we had lost him to something like the flu.
She's now spent nearly 10 years encouraging people to take the flu seriously and encouraging them to get vaccinated.
It can be faster than we realize, and it can be more serious than we realize, and sometimes there just is no time to act. So the more steps that you can take to prevent getting the flu into your home in the first place, the better.
Doctors say the influenza outbreaks are starting earlier than usual, and they're encouraging everyone to get vaccinated. Annie Bergeron-Oliver, CTV News, Ottawa.
A new study out of Sweden finds there's no need to avoid the charcuterie board at your next holiday gathering. The study looks at the possible link between eating more high-fat cheese like cheddar, Gouda, and Brie, and a lower risk of developing dementia. The study found people who ate 50 grams or more of high-fat cheese a day had a 13% lower risk of dementia than those who had less than 15 grams a day. While the study doesn't prove consuming high-fat cheese lowers the risk of dementia, researchers say it does show an association. A trio of siblings paid a special visit to a Scarborough hospital to thank the healthcare workers who cared for them as infants.
Our health reporter Pauline Chan has more on the special reunion.
A special surprise for Nurse Shanti Saw.
From the moment that I came in, there was just this warmth about her that just really, drew me to her, and she was just so helpful and compassionate, and anytime I needed anything or had questions.
We don't get triplets that often, and when they came, like right away, me and Mom bonded, and I was like, oh my God, there's 2 girls and the boy, and we're like, the boy's gonna be so spoiled. And I remember the older brother coming and being so involved, and just watching them grow was amazing.
Mom Nadine Farron recalls first being told she was carrying triplets.
Honestly, I had no words. I started laughing because I was like, this is the funniest thing I've ever heard.
Zion, Ziana, and Zyla were born July 7th, 2020 at another hospital before being transferred to Centenary.
Now, during COVID, only one parent was allowed in at a time, but because there were 3 babies, both parents were able to come in together.
They stayed 2 months at the neonatal intensive care unit before the babies were big enough to go home. This was their first time back at the actual NICU since they were born, and staff were delighted to give them stuffed toys and show them the incubator in the actual space where they stayed.
So here at SHN, we have about 6,500 births. For the NICU, we have about 750 babies who come to our NICU.
I think it's really a testament to the work that they do here in the NICU.
Surprisingly, triplets do come up a few times a year. They've even had quadruplets. And Nadine has some words of encouragement for new parents, especially those with multiple babies.
It's okay to be scared. It's okay to feel overwhelmed. Really and truly just take it moment by moment and celebrate the small wins. Happy holidays!
Pauline Chan, CTV News.
In sports, the Scepters hit the ice last night in Halifax, taking on the Montreal Victoire as part of the league's takeover tour.
Loose puck. Now it's a chance. Dropped it back for Woods to the far side. Backdoor, and a Sheldon opens the scoring for the Scepters.
The Scepters taking an early lead, but Montreal tied the game up, forcing overtime where the Victoire would win 2-1 in a shootout. Toronto was back in action Sunday against the New York Sirens.
And the Maple Leafs open a 3-game road trip visiting the Washington Capitals tonight.
Now a bouncing foot for Joshua scores! Dakota Joshua, and the Leafs lead 3-2.
The Buds are coming off a 3-2 win over the Chicago Blackhawks Tuesday. Puck drop for tonight's game is around 7 o'clock. Now, after Washington, the Leafs will visit Nashville and Dallas.
And on the courts, the Raptors will be looking for another win tonight, taking on the Milwaukee Bucks.
Ingram ties it up. Take that.
The Raps return to action after snapping their 4-game losing streak against the Miami Heat on Monday. The Raptors have a 16-11 record for 3rd in the Eastern Conference. The Bucks, meanwhile, sit 11th at 11-16.
Back in September, we told you about reports a new take on the Muppet Show was in the works, and now Disney Plus has made it official. The streamer shared a teaser for a one-off special event debuting February 4th, and that would coincide with the 50th anniversary of the debut of the original Muppet Show. Kermit, Miss Piggy, and many more iconic Jim Henson characters are set to be joined by guest star Sabrina Carpenter. She's executive producing alongside Seth Rogen, and reports suggest the special could be the launching point for a new series. The Distillery District's Winter Village attracts more than 1 million visitors over the 6 weeks it's in operation during the holiday season.
And for those looking to experience a true winter wonderland while there, CTV's Andrea Case suggests a most unlikely place.
It is combined effort over the holiday season in the Distillery District, the home of Soul Pepper Theatre and the entrance to see Bad Hat's production of Narnia. It all doubles as a winter wonderland. Rohan Kulkarni is the director of social impact at Soul Pepper Theatre.
Very on theme with the holidays would be of interest and an attraction within the Distillery District during this very busy time of year. So we really wanted to find a way to make Soul Pepper feel like the destination.
It's also the home of Santa at the Distillery Winter Village and a popular destination to take your holiday photos. You can strike a pose until January 4th for a nominal fee, which supports free children's programs at the Young Center for the Performing Arts.
If people would like, they can donate a little tip, $5 or $10, to get their photo with Santa or just have a photo in the space, and that goes towards Soul Pepper's free youth programming.
Unlike other theaters, the lobby on Tank House Lane is an available space for anyone who wishes to use it. Free Wi-Fi, conduct a small meeting, or just hang out.
Really, people are looking for places to just hang out, to not have the pressure of either, purchasing something or having to plan a whole night around it. They can just come and feel free to feel at home here.
Come for the free Wi-Fi and maybe stay or come back to see a show.
Hello.
Andrea Case, CTV News.
Oh,
all right, Christmas a week away.
Can you believe it? Wow, and it doesn't feel like it today. It is so nice and mild, although I know there's a lot of kids who are hoping that maybe some snow, more snow than what we've got will come.
Yeah, well, it does look like we have some snow in the 7-day forecast, maybe not quite as much as we've had so far. Today, daytime, a good opportunity to go and check out the Christmas markets, but into the night tonight, we have some rain moving in, so be mindful of that. It looks to rain right through the overnight hours. Our temperature remaining very mild, 5 overnight temperature. I'm not going to call it the low because our low will happen somewhat into tomorrow morning. -1 degree in the morning, -4 for your Friday afternoon. And yeah, we could pick up a trace to a couple of centimeters of snow. A reminder, the winter solstice is on Sunday. There's your weekend forecast and beyond. Nathan and Michelle.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. And that's it for CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and the whole team here at CTV News, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6.